Hey, good Monday morning to everybody. It's Steve here, and I am back in the shop this morning. And if you're watching this, you're back in the shop with me, and I want to thank you for that. So, last week was a very busy week, and as you guys, if you watched last week's video, you do know I got Kevin's truck back, and I spent Saturday setting up the shop so I can I want to try to stay focused on his truck to get it assembled. But today, I think I'm going to get right in the middle of the exhaust system. I don't know if you can see it, but I brought the exhaust system. All of those parts belong to the exhaust system for this truck. I've moved all of those from the front back here to the back. But anyway, I'm going to get set up, and we're going to see if we can figure out how to run the exhaust on this truck. And before I go, I want to, once again, I want to thank you guys for following the channel. And once again, there's a few people that comment. I try to respond to those comments. I thank you guys for the kind words in those comments. And anyway, I greatly appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you tuning into the channel. And hopefully, as we progress, this channel will grow a little bit more. But anyway, I'm going to get set up, and we'll see if we can get some exhaust pipe welded up today. I chased this sucker twice in my shop. Settle down. I got him caught once, had to throw a towel over his head, and he flew back in, so should have filmed it. It's pretty comical, me chasing a stupid bird through the shop with a towel. I'm gonna take him out here. Actually, that may be a female. Settle down. I think it's a cardinal. Possibly a female cardinal. I don't know, but I'm gonna let it go and watch it. Okay, I've got Kevin's truck in the air, as you can see, and one of the first things that I have to do, I don't know if you'll be able to see it with the camera angle, but the transmission cross member has some cutouts for the exhaust system, and there's a slight offset where it comes off the header. So I'm going to end up building an offset to come into this pocket, and then I've got these stainless steel flex hoses. I like to run these, and I'm contemplating putting these right here where the cross member's at. My main goal is to just get the exhaust system built back to where the mufflers are hung. Now, another thing, this is somewhat of a disclaimer. You can see I have a drive shaft, which is the original drive shaft to this truck. It is just hung up in here, and it's merely here so I can use it for clearancing for the exhaust and the Y pipe. So I'm going to get started, and we're going to cut some pipe and try to build some offsets. After pulling some measurements underneath the truck, I decided to go ahead and start building out the front of the X pipe, which for some reason I called it a Y pipe earlier, but it is an X. And the transmission cross member, I showed you guys the notches that were in it. Basically, there's 16.5-inch center to center to hit those right in the middle with the pipe. So I have cut these down, and I've got everything fit up, and I've got lines on the table. I've got everything drawn out to where these are going to hit at 16 inches, 16.5 to be exact. So I'm going to set up and I'm going to tack these. Now, another thing that I do on these fittings, these are designed to clamp together, these X pipes. And since I'm going to TIG weld them, I usually cut this off. As you can see up here, I've cut these off already, and that way I don't have to back weld these. So I'm going to finish getting this thing tacked up, and then we're going to move on to getting hopefully the little flex hoses on here and build out the offsets. I am at a complete loss at the moment. It's actually pretty late in the afternoon. I started building the Y pipe out this morning, and I started welding the flex hoses on, and for the life of me, I have never done this, but I ran my shop completely out of argon. And when I say completely out of argon, what I'm fixing to show you is it's almost unthinkable for me not to have argon whenever I have this many bottles of argon. I spent so much time this weekend setting up the shop, trying to get everything ready. And the one thing that I forgot to check was argon. So I have, since then, I have been trying to do a little bit of work on Kevin's truck. The cab mounts didn't act like they wanted to bolt down real well the other day, so I was able to get those done. And we decided to run, last minute, this set of valve covers. And these are very tall, and they were hitting right here, so I've had to slide the engine forward. Now, what's interesting about having to slide the engine forward, I don't know if you guys will remember, but back whenever I fit this engine in here, I had to notch out this motor mount. Now that I've had to slide it forward to clearance for the valve covers, I've had to pull the header back, and I'm also having to re-notch this motor mount. So I'm going to continue with this and finish out the day, and I'm going to come back in the morning and regroup. So I apologize. I was hoping to be able to bring you guys a lot more stuff, but it just did not work out. So you guys have a good evening. I will see you back here in the morning. Hey, what's up, everybody? I am back in the shop. Good morning to you. And I know I had a pretty frustrating day yesterday since I ran out of argon. That won't happen again, but I was able to get some things done to Kevin's truck. So I did successfully, I was able to get the engine slid forward. We had to slide it forward for the valve covers. The motor mount on the passenger side gave me fits. I was finally able to get that trimmed, get it bolted back into place. And I've got the engine and transmission, for the most part, locked into place where it needs to be. So even though I set out yesterday to do what I was going to do, I was able to salvage the day. And today, I am going to continue working on Kevin's truck. I have a lot of little stuff to do. So I've got brake lines, I've got fuel lines, I may try to start building out the doors. I've got all the sound deadening that can go in it. I have some stuff that I need to bead blast and get ready for the accent color we're going to add to the truck. So I'm going to get started. I'm not really sure where I will start on the truck, but I am going to do something this morning. I'll set the cameras up and let them run, and I'll cut back in whenever I have something to share. All right, I'm just loading up the bead blaster, and as you can see, maybe, if I get this camera in here, I hate going way overhead like this, but as you can see, I've got a handful of parts. So unless you truly like to just sit and watch paint dry, I don't know that I'll film much of this, but I'm going to stand at this blaster, and I've got a bunch of parts to clean and prep. So we'll get that done. If you have been watching my channel very long at all, there's one thing that you're going to notice. And I am usually really bad to put the cart before the horse. And with Kevin's truck, it has been no exception. So in my haste to get his cab set down on this chassis, I forgot one crucial step. Not real crucial, but it would have been a lot easier to do this prior to dropping the cab. When I built the fuel tank out, I went over this fuel pump that's mounted into this tank. Those take a 1/4 inch national pipe thread to AN fitting, which is here. And then I've got some AN fuel hose that I will feed up there. However, if you'll notice, there is not much room, certainly not enough room to put a wrench unless I use a crow's foot or I make a wrench. So I'm going to more than likely, instead of pulling the cab back off, I'm probably just going to drop the tank. So I'm going to tackle that and hopefully start running some fuel lines next. I guess they say time flies when you're having fun, and that is definitely the case in this shop sometimes. So the day is almost gone. It's after 5 o'clock, and it went by quick. But I did get quite a bit of stuff accomplished today, so we'll go over a little bit of what I've managed to get done. We'll start up here in the engine compartment, and as you can see, I ended up changing up the Valley Pan. I put a new Valley Pan, which is an ICT brand. I got rid of the knock sensors. I got his valve covers installed. I also got his new intake put on, and I went ahead and I did set the throttle body on, but then I pulled that back off because I've got a couple of things to do at the moment. So another thing that I ended up doing, I pulled the water pump off, and I'll go over with what I'm going to do with it tomorrow. So also I got the fuel lines, they're put in, had to drop the tank, got the fuel lines staged there, and other than that, I spent quite a few hours out the bead blaster, and I ended up spraying a bunch of these parts, and I've got a lot of this stuff ready to go. So anyway, as I said, it's been very productive, and some days you put a lot of stuff on a car and it looks like you're just making leaps and bounds, and then days you kind of scratch your head and think, what did I get done today? So anyway, I'm going to leave it with you guys tonight, and I hope you have a great evening. I will see you back here first thing in the morning. So I thought I would jump in and bring to you guys the tech tip of the week. So a lot of people have converted lines, whether it's transmission lines, fuel lines, even coolant lines, your heater hose lines. A lot of people are converting these nowadays to what's called these AN fittings. And I am going to show you how I install these AN fittings. So what you're going to need is, one, you're going to need a high-speed grinder on a death wheel. Make sure you have a face shield, and I'm going to go ahead and put that thing on. The other is, I typically will use some cable ties, and if you're lucky enough to have, I think you can see it, if you're lucky enough to have an aluminum vice jaw, then that's great, but it is not necessarily needed. So the other thing is an impact. The first thing that we're going to do is I tend to put a cable tie, if I can keep hold of it, I put a cable tie on the actual line. And I put it on here. I don't know, I try to get it fairly snug. So it looks like this. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take that death wheel and I'm going to cut it right here. And I'm literally going to take the edge of the cable tie with it. Now, if you'll notice, I don't force it. I let it do its own cutting, and I'll let it set for just a few minutes after I'm done. The next step is we're just going to pull that off, and it's going to leave a nice, clean, flush fit. We're going to grab the fitting, and we're going to stick it on the line. And this is where the impact comes in, which this one is not needed. Typically, if they're too tight, you can take your impact and put your impact on here, and you can put them reverse, and it'll screw those things right on. Now, I do want to throw a little bit of a disclaimer out there. I'm not the first person that's done this. In fact, I've seen this on Facebook Reels before. So after you're there, we have a nice clean fitting. I will tend to give it just a little bit of lubrication. Little dab. And then the next thing is you're just going to screw these things together like so. Like I said, if you're lucky enough to have the vise, slide it in here, lock that thing down, and we're just going to take this wrench and we're going to run this all the way in. And there you have it. One freshly fit AN line. So I've repeated the process on the other end. Now, I strongly recommend, as one of the very last things that you do, I strongly recommend blowing these out really, really good with compressed air, or you could probably even flush some type of liquid through them. Just make sure whatever liquid you use isn't going to break down the rubber hose on the inside. So anyway, that's my little tech tip for the week. Hey, good morning, everybody. I am back in the shop, and as you can see, I am set up on the back of Kevin's truck. I'm hoping that my argon gets here later on today, but until it gets here, I am going to start bending some brake lines. So I'll get set up, and I may jump in here shortly and give you guys a few tech tips on how I bend these lines. I thought I would jump in here and catch you guys up just a little bit to show you what I'm doing. So these are the 3/16 lines. As you saw, they go across the rear axle. And usually if I have these lines that have a lot of quick radius, short bends and stuff, I will take me a piece of TIG rod and I will pre-bend this TIG rod so I can get the exact shape that I want. And then all I'm doing at that point is just mimicking the TIG rod. So that works well. Here in just a little bit, I'll show you guys a little bit more on this flaring tool. This is by far the best flaring tool that I've ever used. Now, tech tip, don't forget when you're flaring to put your nut back on. So I'm gonna jump back over there and finish getting these bolted in, and then I will start the 1/4 inch lines that go from the rear end up to the front of the truck. I have started running the new brake line down the frame rail. Now, originally, the rear brake line goes straight forward through there, and it goes all the way up the passenger side frame rail, and then it drops across the cross member in the front where the proportioning valve is mounted very low. Since I am putting a Wilwood master cylinder and proportioning valve right up off of the booster, I have turned this, as you can see, I've turned it right there, and then I've brought it across here and dropped it down and ran it along the inside of the driver's frame rail. So I'm going to end up pausing here on the rear brake line until I get the master cylinder and proportioning valve mounted. So guess what? It's Wednesday, it's almost noon, and I got argon. So guess what that means? I'm gonna start back on Kevin's exhaust. I'm not gonna waste any time, I'm gonna get right after it. That's gonna pretty much finish up the passenger side. I've got that side fully welded. The V-band is snug down, so it's got it fairly well locked in to where I want it. I could probably actually move this pipe stand if I wanted to. But as I was welding out those flex hoses, those are not the typical flex hoses that I normally use. The collars are aluminized, and they were wreaking havoc on my weld. So once I figured that out, I was able to grind that aluminized off of there, and I was able to go ahead and get those laced up pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the driver's side. I've got to build the other offset for this side, and I probably won't film much of that, but I'll jump back in whenever I'm back closer towards the mufflers. So I'll see you guys after a while. That's a lot of work. In fact, you could say that this is exhausting. Or I was hoping to have a lot more done by the end of the day, so I could say I'm exhausted. But as you can see, I have got the entire Y pipe, all of the flex hoses, all of the V-bands welded into the headers. That is all clamped down and tight. I also got completely back here and got the passenger side muffler hung, and I've got most of that tacked up, and actually one joint's completely welded. So I think it's a little bit, it's after 5 o'clock, and I'm gonna call it a night. So I'm gonna come back in the morning. So hopefully you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you here first thing in the morning. Hey, what's up everybody? Good morning to you. It's Thursday morning, and I'm just getting to the shop. And we got a delivery yesterday. We got Kevin's bed. It looks great. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and head on back to the back. I'm going to try this morning to finish up the exhaust. I'd like to get both sides completely welded out, done to the muffler. Then once I'm done, I plan on bringing that thing up here. As I showed you guys earlier, I have the front staged and ready for all the assembly work. So anyway, I am going to finish my coffee this morning. I'm going to get set up. I got the passenger side pretty well done yesterday evening, so I'm going to finish it up and knock out the driver's side. So I'll get set up, and I will see you guys shortly. I have the exhaust system built out on both sides. You can see where I've stopped it, and that is somewhat by design. I don't want to go past this until I get the bed set. That way I can figure out exactly where I want to exit the tailpipe tips. Also, there are a couple of things about this I'd like to point out. One, this is not a pre-bent kit. This is just pieces that we have bought, and I am making it fit this truck. We couldn't really find a 3-inch stainless steel system that went all the way out the back to where I want to dump it. So also the other thing is I have some cable ties holding the back of the exhaust up. Some of that is by design because I wanted to get everything tucked up, and then I will figure out the length of my hangers. I definitely am not gonna buy cheap, everyday, run-of-the-mill hangers. So everything's welded. The welds all turned out really, really good. Very pleased with it. I'm pleased with the routing and the way everything fit. So anyway, I think now that this is done, I'll see if I can get down here and give you kind of an overall view of it. It looks good and everything is tucked up. So now that I had the exhaust system done, I think I'm gonna let the truck down and I'm gonna jump in. I think I'm gonna start putting the sound deadener in on the firewall so I can get the insulation and start building out the firewall of the truck. So on this truck, we are converting the instrument cluster to a digital style cluster. And with that, they send their own sending unit that is specific to their gauge. Now, these 3rd and 4th gen engines, there is one drawback to these, and that is there aren't enough places that are tapped into the water jackets that you can add a sending unit. So there are 2 ports in the cylinder heads, one on the driver's side as you can see above, but it has the coolant temp sensor that is needed for the ECU. Additionally, on the passenger side at the rear, there's another plug that you can use. However, these 3rd gen engines, they are bad to trap steam back there, so I really feel, and from things that I've researched, that you get erroneous readings with those being in the back. So the next best thing to do is we can actually drill and tap the top of this water pump volute, and that's what we're getting ready to do. So this is an 1/8 inch national pipe thread, and all I'm gonna do is I'm going to drill me a hole and then I'm going to thread and tap it and hopefully install this. One thing to make sure that you do once you once you drill into this, be sure to blow everything out really well so you get rid of all the aluminum shavings. Nothing very fancy, just we're just gonna put us a hole in it. To be fair, I have done this before, so without the fear of actually ruining this water pump. Put a little tap magic on it, give it some assistance. And for the most part, I'm just gonna run this tap in so far, and then I'm gonna test fit the threads. And then just, if it's not deep enough, then I'll go in a little bit deeper. So. Okay, I'm gonna tap it a little bit more. I'm gonna go a little bit deeper with it, and then I'm gonna get this thing installed back on the truck. So as you can see, this is going to be about as much fun as watching paint dry. So I'm not going to film a whole lot more of this and put you guys through watching this. So I'll jump back in later on towards the end of the day and we'll look and see just how much of this I've got in. Hey, welcome back everybody. It's getting late afternoon, and as you can see behind me, I went a little bit crazy. But what I will tell you is if you want to make a phone call and you don't want Big Brother to listen to you, you can probably do this to the inside of your vehicle, and there's no way they're going to hear you through all this foil. So anyway, I am going to leave it with you tonight, and I will come back first thing in the morning. Now, I know it's been mostly Kevin's truck this week, and rightfully so. I'm trying to get this thing, now that I have it back from the paint and body, I'm trying to get this thing done. So tomorrow being Friday, I may work on something just a little bit different, and if I do, I will. I'll figure that out tonight, and I'll let you guys know in the morning. So you guys have a great evening. I'll see you back here first thing in the morning. Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Saturday afternoon, and I know what you're thinking. Well, what happened to Friday? Well, to be fair, my Friday got completely chaotic, and I didn't end up spending much time out here, so I decided to come out here this afternoon, and I had some parts that I needed to finish bead blasting for Kevin's truck. So I'm gonna run them up to Chris's shop here in a minute, but I wanted to end the week, and once again, I wanna end the week and thank you guys for tuning in to the channel. I appreciate you guys keeping up with me, and as always, if you haven't, hit that subscribe button and drop me a comment if you like the content, and if you got something constructive to say, just drop it in there. I will try to get back with you. But anyway, it is, like I said, Saturday afternoon. I'm going to call it a week and go home hopefully and edit this video and get it cut out hopefully Sunday evening. So once again, I greatly appreciate you guys following along, and hopefully you've enjoyed this as much as I do bringing this content to you. So anyway, one last thing, as I always say at the end of my videos, I hope to see you guys on the next one.